Chelsea, Spurs, and Liverpool all failed to take 3 points in Week 12, but Southampton and Leicester impress as they surge towards the top of the table. We get a huge snooze fest in the Manchester derby, and Arsenal lose at home to Burnley. We still down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio, and this is the Boys and Bolos podcast. Welcome back to the Boys and Bolos podcast. We're down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and the Barbershop Studio. Jarrett, how are you tonight?
Awesome week for Chelsea. Everyone's really excited.
It was a week to forget for Chelsea, as well for Spurs. Tying Palace, as you know, with Palace, is never a fun day.
I hate Crystal Palace.
Brutal. Just a goalkeeper just standing on his head for freaking 90 minutes.
Guaita, just the best
much.
goalie in the world.
It was too much.
FIFA starting 11.
Spurs got to put him away, but yeah, that's kind of how it went. But what else happened in week 12?
A lot happened in week 12. But I think one of the things we want to point out today is that we're going to change the format a little bit because in the next month, it's going to be a rat race.
A lot of games.
And so we normally do a review of all the games, and then we do a preview of all the games. But this week, we're just going to answer some big questions about the week that we've just had, and then we'll do a normal preview because that doesn't take too much time because we're about to start having crazy amount of games.
Yeah, let me just real quick. I'll just go top of the I'll just read the top 4 or 5, maybe top 6 in the table. Maybe look at relegation. Let me just quickly look. Tottenham and Liverpool still at the top of the table, tied on points with 25, with a Liverpool tie at Fulham. Leicester won big and have 24 points, jumped into third. Southampton won 3-0 and are with 23 points in fourth. Chelsea lost, dropped down to fifth. We got West Ham in sixth, tied on points with Everton and Man United. And in the relegation battle, we still have Sheffield United with only a point in 20th. We got West Brom with 6 points in 19th, and Fulham clawing their way out of relegation with 8 points after a tie at Liverpool in 18th. So it is a fight down there.
You're not going to mention Burnley. They skyrocketed out of relegation.
Oh,
dubbed today.
Yeah, Burnley skyrocketed out of 18th or 19th into 17th with a win over Arsenal, and Arsenal stayed in 15th with 13 points. So we'll get into some of those lower teams, those real we're going to call Arsenal matches wooden spoon matches now, because anytime they play a team lower than 12th, it's going to be a wooden spoon match. I wish Spurs had just taken all the points from Palace, but they got a big game on Wednesday against Liverpool, so a point isn't horrible. What else? Villa got back on track. They won in the 90th minute on a penalty, so that's good for Villa. They're back up into 10th place with 18 points, much better than last season. Trending in the upward direction, even with Ross Barkley out.
Big loss. Emotionally, a big loss.
But we have a few questions. Maybe we'll just get right to the questions, like some big topic questions we can just chat about. The Manchester derby.
Snooze fest.
It was a snooze fest. If anybody didn't watch it, it was a 0-0 draw at the end. The United coaching staff was celebrating like they had just taken 3 points, even though they had only drawn against City. I don't know what they were thinking. But it helps Spurs. It helps Chelsea. It helps us. Anybody right now who are in the top 6, because those teams are in 9th and 10th right now in the table. And I think the big question is, who is the better Manchester team? Jared, you want to field that one?
I think the better Manchester team right now, and this is going to be a shocker because I picked City to win the league, I think it's Manchester United. Before this game, they'd won 4 in a row in the Prem. They tied a City team, which I think is actually a lot better than they are, which is maybe why they celebrated, why they won the World Cup in PKs. United and Arsenal are very interesting for me right now because they're two clubs that growing up, when we first started to watch the Prem about 20 years ago, were top clubs. Were clubs that were in Europe, a big deal in Champions League, were a big deal in the Premier League. You never wanted to play them. And now United is celebrating a tie to their arch rivals, City, at home as though they won the World Cup. That just kind of shows you where they are. Even though I do think that they're actually in a better position right now than City. City look sterile to me. I watched the City game. If you missed the City Leeds or you missed the City United game, you missed nothing. That was 180 minutes of the exact same thing. City having chances, City having possession, but then nothing. They look sterile. That's the only way I can describe City. So I actually think right now, United is the best team in Manchester, but what do you think?
I think at this very moment, United are better than City because it looks like Ferran Torres, Jesus, even De Bruyne are just not finding a way to score goals. They can pass it around all they want, but if they can't penetrate and get the ball into the 6-yard box, into the 18 basically, and shoot, they're not going to score. And if they can dribble around and pass around the box, but basically we just see them like what we've said in the past is they have lots of possession, and then sometimes they cross it, and sometimes they try to make a cute pass, and it just doesn't work out. United, I think they played with Wan-Bissaka. He played pretty well on the outside. I do have to say that Harry Maguire, since we roasted him in the beginning of the season, he's played a lot better.
He's one of our biggest listeners.
We were calling him slabhead.
He's still slabhead, but he's just playing better. I mean, he loves the game when teams are going to be just lob balls into him, and
Correct.
He's got 5-2 forwards next to him. Like, Sterling is not going to win a header over him.
They're missing Aguero. And like I've said in the past, I said last week, I said the week before, Aguero still isn't the answer because he's older. I wouldn't say he's old, but he's older.
You almost said old. You caught yourself.
He's old for a forward in the Premier League.
Yes.
Fall back on, we don't have Aguero is a little bit, for a City team with $1 billion on their roster and not play Foden, just have him sitting on the bench and to not make a single sub the entire game.
What
with
is
that? Pep
what is
doing?
going on with him? Actually, if there's one thing I could say about this game, when the game was over, I watched it with my dad, and I was like, well, you know what happened? United actually had a difficult game midweek where they had to win, which they lost to Leipzig. They're out of the Champions League. They look gassed because they had to go give it everything, whereas the City players were rested, so City really should have gotten all 3 points. I think it's a bigger loss for City, the tie, which is a weird sentence to say, it's a bigger loss to City. I think City dropped the 2 points this week.
Hurt them more.
It hurt them more, and I just think they lost the game. By tying, they lost the game. They lost the momentum. They should have absolutely gone into Old Trafford and just beat the shit out of Manchester United. Manchester United have so many problems right now. Everything goes through Bruno Fernandes. If they don't have Bruno Fernandes on their team's dog shit.
Pogba played a little bit better, and I think that he responded to some of the negative criticism and some of the negative press he was getting during the week.
He's gone though. I think he's just trying.
He's definitely gone,
but
I think that's still a good move for him. Is to try as hard as he can.
It is so he can up his value.
Exactly.
The question is though. So okay, you've just answered. Is he playing for United or is he playing for himself because he's trying to get his transfer fee up?
He's 100% playing for himself, but he's always
trying to get his weekly wages up wherever he goes.
Wherever he plays, he's always going to play for himself. That's the type of player he is.
I like that.
I don't think that's a controversial statement.
No one's. You had no clapback for that.
That's it.
I didn't bat an eye.
I really agree with you though. Like, if people want to call City title contenders for the 2021 season, for this season,
which is this guy, me,
which is Jared.
I've
which is
said
not
that
me,
in the past.
Which was not Luke last week.
I may change my. It just looks so. It's so languid. It's so sterile. It's just like it looks like a training exercise where City. The whole point is to like have possession and then play it back out just so you can feel good having possession.
Right.
There isn't like a point. Gabriel Jesus is like doing wind sprints trying to get space and find it, but he can't.
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne.
People know how to defend against City, and it's not. I mean, they'll win a few games. They're going to win a game. They're going to tie a game. They're going to win a game. They might lose a game. You know, they're going to stay in this kind of. They might find themselves close to the top 4, but these teams are so good. Leicester is so good. Southampton is playing really well. Chelsea is going to be knocking on the top 4 door. Tottenham are good.
One thing that should be said is that both Manchester teams have games in hand. So if United, in theory, were to win those 6 points that they have in hand, they'd be number 1. And if City were to win the 6 points that they have in hand, they would be number 2. Goal differential aside. So that needs to be taken into account.
I guess, but we're not really talking about points in the table. We're talking about
energy. We're talking
energy,
about
the talent,
the team, the locker room environment,
all that stuff. I think it's a really bad for Manchester United to lose their Champions League game and drop out of that competition into the Europa League. And I joke around about the Europa League like Spurs are like on their way to a cup, and that would be the best thing in the world. They spent a lot of effort in the restart getting into the top 4.
They being United, okay.
United. Okay. Getting into the top 4, squeaking their way in to get into a Champions League spot, and they squandered it. They looked really good the first couple games of the Champions League rounds, and then they just came up really short. I don't think they took Red Bull Leipzig very seriously. They smashed them 5-0, and then on the last game, they lost to them 3-2. They looked really bad in that game. They obviously, some of their players just aren't clicking together. I don't think Van de Beek is working out right now. Pogba was playing pretty poorly up until maybe this past game. Fernandez is good for a penalty, and if every ball isn't coming through him, there's no chance of scoring. Cavani's hurt now. Luke Shaw was hurt for a while. Jarrett thinks that Luke Shaw played pretty well yesterday.
I thought he played pretty well. I thought, actually, I wanted to disagree with you. I think Wan-Bissaka, Obi-Wan, can no idea what the fuck I'm doing, looked like dog shit. He was just running everywhere, making useless tackles.
He doesn't know what to do with the ball once he wins it back.
That's a good sign of a soccer player.
But he hustles really hard, and he doesn't really have to. He hustles. What?
Keep describing Wan-Bissaka. It's going really well for your argument.
All right. Well,
he doesn't know what to do when he gets
the ball.
I thought he played
all right.
He hustles really hard.
I thought he played pretty well.
JV guy.
All right, let's move on. So we're both saying right now that United's better only because
you agree. Okay.
Yeah, only because City look flat.
City looks super flat. If that game played on for 10 years, City would have never scored, and I think United would have been more likely to score with some Rashford or Martial counterattack or break.
Or penalty in the box.
Or Penandes.
Yeah.
Barchester United.
Yep. Hop, skip, and a jump.
Hop, skip, and a boop.
Next question we got. We're just going all in on questions.
Just questions.
Just questions.
It's a TED Talk, really.
So Southampton won again. They won 3-0.
They beat Sheffield, the team that you think is going to qualify for Europe.
Right. Southampton beat Sheffield 3-0. It was not close. Sheffield isn't good. I know they're not good. I'm just trying to will them back out of the...
Do you go to like a Sheffield prayer service?
Look,
on Zoom?
I don't say Blades baby for no reason, all right?
Blades baby.
So I thought they were a good story last year. And so I don't want to see them drop down out of the Premier League. All right? I don't want to see Watford come up again and suck it up. And Bournemouth come up again.
Dude, get Troy Deeney back in here.
I'd rather
get some OG soccer players back, not Phil Foden and his F-boy haircut.
So the question is Southampton a top 4 challenger this season? Let's remind everyone how many points they have in the table. They have a scintillating 23 points. Only 2 points out of the top spot.
They're doing really well. They're playing really well. I think they're overachieving. I don't think anyone would argue with that. I think Hasenhuttl would agree that they're overachieving. How long can they keep it up? Are they top 4 contenders? Absolutely not, in my opinion.
No.
Are they Europa League contenders the way they're playing? For sure. Top 4, though, it's going to get tough. I do expect City and United to start firing a little bit more.
Okay.
Everton, honestly, are looking good.
Here's the thing. They've got a banana peel against Arsenal on Wednesday.
The banana peel being for Arsenal, not for Southampton. I guess it's actually Southampton's banana peel. The tables have turned.
It's Southampton's banana peel.
Good Lord.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we're talking about 4th versus 15th.
4th versus championship.
Yeesh.
Yeesh.
But then they got City on the following short week Saturday. So this is really their first kind of midweek game. So we'll kind of see how their fitness holds up. I think City probably could take the 3 points. Then they got Fulham, which we all thought would be a banana peel game, but then Fulham went out and tied Liverpool. So who knows? Maybe Fulham's in a rebound type of situation, finding some form. Then they've got West Ham, which is a good team. West Ham is a solid team this year. They're in 5th or they're in 6th right now, I think. And then they got Liverpool. So
West Ham look good. You don't want to play. You don't want to play West.
You don't play West Ham.
The Hammers look nice. So do you think they're top 4? For me, it's absolutely not.
No, there's too many good. I mean, you got Tottenham, Liverpool, Leicester, Chelsea, even City,
United,
even
Everton.
So they're going to drop points. I think they're going to up until that first round of FA Cup in the on the 9th of January. They've got a pretty tough run of fixtures. To win a few games, they'll be lucky. I think they might. They might drop like 6 points. So
I agree with that. Let's talk about the team we just mentioned, Arsenal.
The game just ended.
The game just ended. We just turned it off. We just watched Sean Dyche's tap dance on Arsenal.
And Arsenal were at home. I didn't see one fan out of their seats. They look like very dejected, that fan base.
Looks like the first season of Sunderland Till I Die when Sunderland get relegated.
Yeah, I mean, they're not feeling very good about their club right now.
Dark.
I didn't even see Gunnersaurus on the sidelines.
Dude, Gunnersaurus is crying in the tunnel.
It's brutal.
He was probably
they look like they are just nobody's playing on the same page. There's no game plan.
You want to know what it is for me? It's when Liverpool gets scored on by Fulham. Klopp loses his shit. And go look. You've probably already seen the clip. He's like slamming his chest. He's like, wake up, we're better. He's getting angry with them. He's like, we're part of this. Get up. What are you doing? You can't be losing. I don't care for Craven Cottage. You can't be losing to Fulham. When Burnley score, look at Arteta. Just kind of like shakes his head and puts his head down and walks back into the technical area. He should be all over his players. It starts at the top and it goes all the way to the bottom. I don't understand. There's something seriously wrong at Arsenal right now. That to me was just telling. Because they'll always pan to the coach after a goal. And he was just like, he didn't even do anything. It's almost like he doesn't even have answers anymore.
He doesn't.
It's almost like he's waiting for the adults to come back in the room and tell him what's going on. It's like Lord of the Flies.
He looks like
they were like left alone on an island, and Arsenal's 15th.
He looks like an assistant coach who doesn't have enough experience in the league. He doesn't have the technical answers. He doesn't have the personnel answers. He doesn't know how to motivate his side, apparently. He doesn't exude much confidence for his team. He looks lost. He looks lost out there. You almost feel bad for him, but then you realize it's Arsenal, and they're like, oh, they brought this on themselves by hiring a manager that has literally no Premier League experience except working under Pep, who has $1 billion on his roster, so they always had the answer. He doesn't have $1 billion on his roster. I mean, they have good players, but they have not invested in their team like City have invested in their club, because the management's different. The management's not committed to being a top 4 club. They're not a top 4 club.
Yeah, they're just committed to being financially responsible, and that's it.
They never gave him the pieces, or they let him get Party. They may let him get Gabriel, and that's it. And look what's happened. The 2 players aren't going to fix their entire problem. Saka's the only one out there hustling. He was offsides a few times in the game. You rather see him trying to be offsides and catch a ball than getting crosses in the box like last week, where they're looking for him to like somehow get like an NBA hang time and scoring a header. Like, get
the mushroom in Mario and
yeah,
drill
seriously.
Like 7 inches. We put up on our Instagram, and if you haven't seen it, you should just go reference this. But it's a quote with Freddie Youngberg. He's on Sky Sports talking about how when he got to Arsenal, he tried to like make someone in Carragher's like Jimmy Carragher's like, oh, it must have been Keown. He tried to make someone, and then he tried to like joke about it. He's like, no, you can Meg, but you don't. We're not messing around here. And then I put up another clip of them. It's like Aubameyang and some of the guys doing a rondo, and they get a Meg. And I don't even know. Somebody slides in the corner, and they celebrate it like the world's ending. And my quote on it was just like, you play how you train. And I just cannot, in my mind, I just do not believe Arsenal right now in their training grounds. What are they doing? What are they doing? Like, fly a drone over that, film it, and send it to the world, because I guarantee it's not productive, not positive. It's not about playing the style of football I think Arsenal fans and us as Arsenal rivals have been accustomed to playing, which is a free-flowing football, which at the end results in a shot or a shot attempt. Full stop. And they just haven't been doing that. They've taken forwards who I do believe are actually decently talented, like Lacazette and obviously Aubameyang, and they're just useless. They're absolutely useless. When you take good players and you put it to so for me, it's just a system problem. But right. I don't know what the answer to that is.
To be fair, Aubameyang did end a scoring drought.
Dude, he did. He buried it.
He buried it right in the back of the net.
Buried own goal.
Own goal.
For the OG, the original goal scorer.
There's one thing I have to say, and there were people trying to play devil's advocate on social media about that rondo, saying that players should be able to have fun and it's not all serious and stuff. But you know what? It is a business. To play the other side of the coin, there are people who are season ticket holders that pay money to see Arsenal and to pay money to see some product that they're not getting. And these players are paid excessive amounts of money to win football games. And there has to be a certain level of professionalism when you're out training. I'm not talking about when you're in the weight room and you're having a joke. I'm not talking like if Spurs are playing cricket and that, but that's after they're out in the field. That's happening like when people are getting treatment and they've done their weights and stuff. That's a joke. That's like them building camaraderie with one another. That's totally different. Like, you can have fun doing that. When you're on the field and your manager is telling you to go do a rondo and go practice dribbling and stuff, it's not about like celebrating in the corner on a because you megged a guy, which happens all the time in a rondo.
It happens all the time. And here's the other thing I'll say. In the same week on the Chelsea's Instagram, you can go look, and the same thing happened. Right. Like, Conte got megged, and everyone was going crazy, and it was filmed, and even Chelsea put it up.
But Chelsea are winning games.
Chelsea are winning games. If my team has gone from, winning the FA Cup, being competitive over the last 2 decades, like when Chelsea finished 10th, I think, in the last decade. It was horrible. They weren't putting up videos. Granted, Instagram was not where it is now, but they weren't sharing videos, or they wouldn't today. Or if they did, people would be all over them about that. I mean, it's telling that Arsenal, even as their fans, have Arsenal AFTV, Arsenal Fan TV, that they have their own troll account within their fans because that's how sometimes dark it gets to be an Arsenal fan, and you just have to be so self-deprecating.
Yeah, Arsenal fans have gone being a proud club to trying to shit on everybody else, and then
do you think they try to shit on everybody else?
They do shit on everybody else because
they
what
also
they say,
beat everybody else.
You know
Arsenal's still good.
They know what they say. They say is that their biggest comeback is, well, you haven't won a trophy. That's like, well, at least we won a trophy. Like, that's their big comeback.
Oh, do they say that to you? They don't say that to me.
Well, they say it to me, but
Wow, it sounds like a personal problem, Jeff. You don't have a trophy. Damn it. Foiled again.
It's like the only comeback.
It's it.
It's brutal.
Maybe we should make Spurs shirt that just says we don't have a trophy.
It's like
Are you
English
mad,
fans.
bro?
English fans like rip on Harry Kane, even though he's an English player playing for the English national team. They're like hoping he gets injured. It's like, guys,
who quietly or not so quietly has some of the best goal scoring stats in the last decade for any player,
he's
not
quietly
Messi or Ronaldo.
He's quietly the
Or
best
Lewandowski.
striker in the Premier League.
He is the best striker in the Premier League.
And he's the best one of the best two-way players in the Premier League.
What do you mean?
He comes back on defense and he
hustles.
He's heading balls off the
on
line.
free kicks. He's probably one of the better defensive headers in the league,
I mean,
which is really saying something.
He's like 6'2".
Really says something about the center backs.
I know, but still, he's an excellent two-way player.
You're right. Somehow we got onto Tottenham from this.
But anyway, let's answer the real question about Arsenal. Where will they finish in the table?
I think they're going to finish somewhere between 10th. I think they're going to finish 10th to 12th.
So I agree with you, and I think they'll finish around 10th. And I think they're underperforming right now.
I think they're underperforming. I think they've had some tough breaks. I don't like to use luck as much because we're starting to see a trend where they're just sucking. They don't score goals. They just don't score goals, and you got to score goals to win games.
You mean you see more Lacazette falling on the ground looking for a penalty versus him trying to actually create a chance to shoot. That, like we keep saying it, they don't create enough chances, actual decent chances. I'm not talking about lobbing the balls in the box. I'm talking about actual chances. Aubameyang's got to do more. He's got to step up and be a leader in the team. I'm not talking about doing more, scoring more goals. I'm talking about doing more as like the captain of that team because he's obviously not inspiring confidence with that group of players.
We just finished week 12. From week 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8, 5 games, they've scored 1 goal.
Right.
1 goal.
Right. So take Lacazette out. Put Nketiah.
I think they should. I don't think they should play Aubameyang. Just to even send a message. I would just put all academy kids in. What are you going to lose? Because their next couple games are rough. Their next couple games are playing Southampton, a team that is very much in form. Then they're playing Everton, a team that just beat Chelsea and is very much in form. Then they play Chelsea. Out of those 3 games, they may get 0 points.
Correct.
Or they may get 3 points only because they tie each game 0-0.
Every week, I think that they're going to turn it around. We're going to eat our words, and we're going to just be wrong about Arsenal. Every week, they're proving us right.
I don't want to see them get relegated. I don't want that. Because
I think they're
a competitive club.
Legitimately better than the bottom 3 teams.
I think they're legitimately better than the bottom 10 teams, if you want my opinion. But they're not playing like it. Aubameyang alone, that guy is just pure class. But once again, the system is not helping him.
I think with Partey in there, healthy, I think yes. Rob Holding, dude, Rob Holding.
Bellerin is a nightmare. How is you know what? We should get away from Arsenal. We can talk about it for weeks. I just wish, I hope that they start to play better. But over these next 3 games, if they get 0 points out of the next 3 games, which is highly likely against the Southampton, Everton, and Chelsea teams, I don't see how Arteta stays. Some head has to roll.
Yeah, something's got to change there.
Because if they get 0 points out of those 3 games, they're going to be close to relegation.
In his presser, they literally asked him, what can you do to fix this problem? And he said, I don't know. I've tried everything.
It's not good.
He doesn't have any answers. He doesn't have the answers. There's part of that's not his fault. The players have to take responsibility and being Arsenal players, having some pride and respect and going out there. And when you have 2,000 fans in that stadium at home, you have to show up, score goals, and just beat Burnley. That is a banana peel. You need to beat Burnley, dude. That's a relegation team.
Aside from the Xhaka, who's just always good for an orange card, somewhere between a yellow and a red, that guy's a horror show.
Yeah, he should have got a red card in the Tottenham game as well.
Yes, he should have.
He was on a yellow, but after like 4 fouls, where he should have easily got a yellow before that, he was he's a nightmare. He is a hack. He's just
a simple word. He's a liability.
Yeah.
If you start him in your starting 11, you may finish with 10.
Yeah.
Because he loves to tackle. Which okay. You know what it is? He's playing the game like he's Roy Keane, but we're not in the age of Roy Keane. We're in the age of VAR where everything gets reviewed. The thing he did after the whistle, nothing. 5 years, even 5 years ago, because there was no VAR.
Yeah.
Now we see it.
Can't grab somebody's neck.
Just don't stop touching necks, guys.
Yeah.
No more necks.
When you push people, push their chest if you have to push them. You don't push people
don't
in the
do
face.
It. Dude, what is Arsenal doing?
I don't know.
In their training, are they doing like...
Because that was a penalty on...
Because El Nene went for the face,
yeah.
the double face punch.
Brutal. I can't understand. Just so on. It's just it's not. They're not disciplined. That's what it is. There's no discipline.
There's no maturity.
There's no maturity.
Chelsea, are they title contenders with the loss to Everton?
And this is a question for me as a Spurs fan.
Rough.
I picked Chelsea to win the league. I really thought so. I'm going to pivot a little bit away from Chelsea winning the league because I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't even want to talk about Spurs winning the league because that's just like, it feels like a whole, I got to knock on wood type thing. With Chelsea, it was all about the players they brought in, right? It was all about them gelling with Pulisic, gelling with Conte, Giroud contributing goals. And it just seems all over the place right now because Havertz doesn't look to be the best buy. He might be a fine piece of that puzzle, but I think they thought he was going to be like lights out. Werner, same deal. I think he deserves to start. I think he was putting goals in the beginning of the season. He's drying up a little bit. I think Mendy was the best thing they could have done, getting Kepa out of there, because even with Mendy's gaffe and causing a foul with the penalty this week, which is how Everton scored, he's still their best signing. Easily their best signing.
Thiago Silva.
You
could make an argument. Mendy's still better, but Thiago Silva's. There's a discussion to be had, but Mendy's obviously without, because if you kept in goal, Everton would have won 3-0.
Correct. So what I'm saying to you is that originally I thought those buys, that $200 and whatever odd $1 million that they spent during the summer transfer window, combined with Pulisic and the pieces that they already had there, some of the younger players, they were gonna all click. And they were going to be off the races. They would give up a goal here and there, but they were just going to score on all the teams. When they're not scoring, this team, I mean, obviously, if you don't score goals, you don't win games, but it just looked flat against Spurs. And I'm a Spurs fan. They needed to put the ball away against Spurs. You need to create more chances, quality chances, finish the ball. And Pulisic wasn't even on the bench, didn't even play. Wasn't even, I don't know if he's not fit. I don't know what his deal is, but he's hurt maybe. I don't know. Havertz had to come off the game. He came off. He got subbed off. Giroud didn't seem like he was clicking. Couldn't find anything. Couldn't get anything going. Same with Werner. So what's the deal? Like why is it just not working out? Is it going to take time? Is this going to take time? Is this a bigger project than we're thinking?
I think Chelsea just still don't have a 10 because if we don't have Havertz, wheeling and dealing. Mason Mount's like a 9.5. He's like not a forward. He's not a 10. He's just kind of like a top piece that's creative and kind of does stuff. But he's not like. He's not a Jack Grealish. He's not a Bruno Fernandes. He's not a guy who's going to pick a pass, and that's what he's intentionally trying to do. So we still don't have a 10, which is an issue. And without Ziyech and Pulisic, we just don't have guys that can beat people off the dribble, and then we just end up knocking it around, getting it wide, trying to whip it in the box, or playing into the box off a 1-2, or doing a third-man run. And at the end of the day, when a team packs it in, like Everton kind of did, they really kind of sat back and decided to soak up some pressure. It's really hard to break down. So I don't know. Losing to Everton doesn't make them not title contenders because, as we spoke about, that's how Spurs started the season, and they're title contenders. You started the season losing to Everton,
on a set piece.
Put the asterisk next to it. But I don't think losing to Everton in the form that they're in, especially losing to them at Goodison Park, means you're not a title contender. It's one game against a competitive team.
No James.
It's one game against a competitive team. I do think, though, Chelsea are going to have a lot of problems if we don't figure out who's going to play in this 10 position. And I don't really have an answer for that because we have a bunch of like holding midfielders. We have a bunch of wingers and a bunch of center forwards, but we don't have that one guy. And that is where Havertz is supposed to fit. If Frank can figure that out for him and get him to do that, then we're golden. I mean,
he looks off. His passes look off. He doesn't look quick. He doesn't look like something's wrong there.
It doesn't look like he's found his footing in the Prem, and that's going to take time. Pivoting away from Chelsea, I want to ask you a question about Liverpool. Where are Liverpool going to go knowing the game that they had today and the result that they had today? What are they going to do? Because the news of Jota getting hurt, I mean, it just doesn't get easier for Liverpool these days.
Mane has only scored 4 goals in all competitions this year. I know we say don't sleep on Mane. He needs to score more. Salah is always going to find the back of the net. He's good for a goal a game, pretty much. I mean, at this point.
It's been just such a weird season.
It's been weird.
Because Liverpool, let's look back. Liverpool, week 9, they beat Leicester 3-0. Whoa. Then they tie Brighton Hove, a team that's at the bottom of the league. Then they beat Wolves 4-0. Then today they tie Fulham 1-1.
They're atrocious away from home.
Team at the bottom of the league. They're atrocious away from home. So basically, if they lose Anfield being a fortress, they're in some serious trouble. They're already in serious trouble, I think, because the injuries when you have to drop Jordan Henderson back into a CB role.
So they need two pieces. I actually think they need a number 10. They need somebody like creative that's going to kind of get the ball up to Salah and to Mane.
If Minamino got more time, I think he could do it and find a gel. I actually don't know why he's not playing Sheridan Shaqiri because I think he's great, and I think he causes a lot of problems out of the midfield.
And they need a center back who's better than Fabinho because Fabinho got extremely lucky with not causing a penalty in the box today. VAR looked at it. The ref said no penalty. I thought it was very generous. He tipped the ball maybe, but it was like, it's Fulham. Like, they need to beat.
Are Liverpool title contenders?
Oh, was that the question?
No, I'm just asking you now.
Yeah, I think they're title contenders.
What about
because they'll get Jota back.
They'll get Jota back. Trent Alexander-Arnold's back. They still are so strong.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
They still have their front
the
three intact.
Yeah.
Salah, Mane, and Firmino. Looking at Leicester title contenders?
No, not enough depth and not enough consistency from Vardy.
I think Maddison's the best 10 in the league right now.
I think if they get Soyuncu back and they find another defender in January, they're going to be up there.
I think they're actually title contenders. What I mean is I think they're going to end up being in the race at the end of January because they're not in Europe. They're one of the top teams that doesn't have to play all these games in and out.
For the next
8
weeks.
They're in Europa, right? But they're not in Champs League. So.
Right. But for the next 8 weeks, there are no
there's no European games till February.
Games, but there are FA Cup games, and all Premier League teams are playing FA Cup games. So everybody's kind of on equal footing at this point.
Okay.
So whoever kind of makes it to the gauntlet of the holiday season, then that's kind of where the league's going to shape up. All right. So the games this week, they're on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
It's craziness.
It's crazy, and then there's games again on Saturday. So Wolves, Chelsea.
I got to go Chelsea 1-0. I don't know. I'm uninspired.
Man City, West Brom. I think that Man City will take care of West Brom. West Brom are down to the championship next year.
Leeds, Newcastle. It's going to be a good one.
Leeds, Newcastle. Leeds gets back on track, takes 3 points in a 2-1 victory.
I agree. Ooh, Arsenal, Southampton. I think Southampton are going to win this game 2-0.
Agree.
Leicester, Everton. Going to be probably one of the games of the week. I got to go Leicester. 1-0.
I'm going to go Leicester. Vardy's going to score. No, Maddison will score. I think Everton will get a red card. Richarlison is very undisciplined.
Allen loves the tackle.
He does.
Fulham, Brighton. Ooh, this is a
spoon.
Wooden spoon. Teams who have both also low-key tied Liverpool in the last couple weeks.
I think Fulham's better than Brighton.
Me too. Fulham are
maybe a little on the upward.
Yeah, they're
trend.
on the up. They got 2 points today from Liverpool. They're feeling good.
Brighton got smacked down.
They're walking with a swagger. Got F-boy haircuts. West Ham, Crystal Palace.
Ooh, a London derby. Crystal Palace played decent today. West Ham's better. I'm going to go West Ham 1-0.
Yep. Agreed. Ooh. Spursy.
Spurs.
What do you think about this one?
I actually think Liverpool are going to beat Spurs.
It's at Anfield, so.
Yeah, 1-0.
Oh, it's going to be a horrible game because it's going to be a tough game. If you guys lose 1-0 to that team, knowing their defensive woes, it's going to be a tough one. Aston Villa, Burnley?
Villa.
Agreed.
2-0.
Okay. Sheffield, Manchester United. Sheffield, the team that you think will qualify for the Europa League.
Ole's going to survive another week and come away with a victory.
He will. I think
2-0.
United 2-0?
Yeah.
That's fair. So I reached out to Dave, and I actually did it really late, so this is all on me, and Dave was only able to get together one pick. So he has, for that Fulham-Brighton game, over 2.5 at plus 105. So you bet 10, you get 10.
So he's saying there's going to be like 3 goals.
Yeah. I think so. Those teams aren't exactly defensive stalwarts, and they're both going to be trying to. What it is they're both going to be going for the 3 points. They're both going to be trying to win.
True.
So I think it's.
They both need the 3 points.
They both need the 3 points. So I think it's okay.
Do you want to pull up the fantasy?
I'll pull up the fantasy because I think Jaboy's in number 1.
Jaboy.
Let's
I
see.
haven't even looked at fantasy this week.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't.
Yeah, okay, guy.
Fantasy.
Bottom 3, Graham's Gang in 18th, Murder on Zidane's Floor still in 17th, and Pablo, who fall from grace, all the way down to 16th. In the top 3, Jeff with the Bunkers, Los Bandoleros came in number 2. He finally usurped them by 1 point. And the not-so-special one, Ozatik, has dropped down to 3rd, followed by Swiss Cheese, FC, Justin Stradley, and Jesus Larry, Jason. So I want you to know I moved up one because I got untied with Nick Bailey, and I'm now in 11th. Yay. Big moves. I was once in 18th. That was horrible. Relegation.
Wait, where'd you move up to?
I'm 11th. The Boys and Bolas team.
Good work. Still beating you by 100 points.
But who's counting? 103. Well, that's the pod for this week.
All right, Jared. Well, thanks for joining me again. Coming down into the bunker.
Into the underworld. It's like international waters down here.
We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.
Really surprised at City in the first half of that match. Manchester United have struggled every first half. They've got a poor record here. They've had a disastrous midweek by going out of the Champions League. Go for the throw. Go for them in the early parts of the game, then get a goal in front, and it becomes a real problem for United. I was really surprised at the tactics. We're sat here discussing and, to be fair, maybe even criticising the greatest manager of all time, potentially. And so it's difficult to do that when, obviously, we're here. But he shouldn't be above criticism, and I think today Manchester City fans will be sat home thinking that's not what we do under Pep Guardiola, that's not how we play. We go for Manchester United. Manchester United, I think, to be fair, the moment they're in, going out of Europe, I can understand why they did sit off. They'd be delighted with what happened out there on that pitch today, the Manchester United players. Absolutely delighted. I think City let them off the hook, and I won't change my mind on that. As much as we can discuss it, as much as Pep will come out and say he's proud of his players, I'm sure, he must be disappointed deep down because that's a shadow of the team. That is an absolute shadow of the team that won the league 2 years.
I feel sad and I'm being sincere, for the Arsenal fan, but I don't feel sad for the Arsenal player. I think they deserve where they are. First of all, like I said before the game, I feel like their religion don't allow them to score goal, and when you don't score goal, you don't win. But we're talking more about their attitude. We have an episode with Pepe, and today Saka, I think it is just a massive lack of discipline. And Arteta must being fuming right now again. And I think just Liverpool get lucky to get away with a point. Fulham deserved the 3 points tonight. And Scott Parker must be really pleased with his team.
Thanks for listening to the Boys and Bolos podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch at Boys and Bolos.
If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. You can hit us on any of the social media accounts that Jeff just mentioned, or email us directly at boysandbolos@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and see you next time.